Well, Henshaw here again, your friendly local constitutional coop from California, and I'm doing a follow-up video in the area of traffic court, quote unquote, and so many of us get victimized by that, and for no good reason. And that's not to say, by the way, with a lawful government in place who might have authority to pass at least some of these laws that they think apply to us, that would be one thing. As you're going to learn, and send me a request for information on my materials, uwinnincourt@gmail.com. The traffic court is nothing more than another administrative tribunal, and there are violations involved there of all 6 rights of the Constitution for the United States, assuming arguendo it remains in full force and effect. There's a lot of people out there that think, not without some reason, that that's not true. Fortunately, the 9-0 parts on the U.S. Supreme Court bench seem to be thinking sharply differently and sounding more and more like me, exactly as they go along here, and headed into their 4th term of an all-out assault on the administrative state. And that helps us all, because that's exactly where you are. You're not in a judicial court. You're never going to be in one. And what we need to know is whether we waive our right to trial by jury according to the course of the common law, especially when these bastards think that we're incompetent, from the day we're born, for crying out loud. And if you're not competent, you can't make a waiver like that. And that's the reference standard, as you'll learn, from the Supreme Court of the United States. Cases called Johnson v. Zerp 304 U.S. 458. Couldn't have made a waiver, but you volunteer in there and you get a social insecurity number, driver's license, marriage license, whatever it is. And that definition of license, by the way, in Black's 3rd and 4th Law Dictionary, permission granted by competent authority to do an act that without such permission would be illegal. Really? Illegal for us to get married, to have children, to travel in our conveyance, exercising our right to travel? Where does all this crap come from? You'll learn all about it. Send me an email, uwinnincourt@gmail.com, for information. And I'm including now, I just created a free document you're going to get with this that you can send to your local sheriff and a lot of other people as well, challenging all this nonsense in the traffic court and telling the sheriff, not to enforce any judgment, quote unquote, as may come to his attention from the traffic court, because it doesn't exist. That administrative tribunal, no business having any jurisdiction over us. We need a judicial court, trial by jury. Without that, every law in the book you're going to learn is a bill of attainder. Article 1, Section 9 or 10, as the case may be, of the Constitution, assuming arguendo, it remains in full force and effect. There are those that think, not alas without some reason, that it doesn't exist and we don't have any sovereign independent states admitted into this union. I respectfully disagree, and it seems to me, with my 4 decades of background, especially with the justices of the Supreme Court, the current group finally acting like an Article 3 judicial court for the first time in 90 years, agrees with me. The Constitution remains in full force and effect, and we do have independent states, even if they're not officially peopled by anybody right now. And if that's true, all the laws on the books, especially traffic laws, null and void, nunc pro tunc ad initio, as bills of attainder, not due process of law. Nothing remotely resembling that. You don't even know what that is. They make it up as they go along. 14th Amendment crap. And as you're going to learn by getting my materials, and send me an email, uwinnincourt@gmail.com. That 14th Amendment, what I call the non-existent 14th Amendment, and it never has existed, that's all they have. You look in your Constitution and see who qualified electors are. And in California, there are United States citizens who reside in California. No, they don't. They reside in the District of Columbia. You and I, as lawful de jure, just sanguineous state citizens, And even inhabitants of states and inhabitants of territories are domiciled in state judicial districts. These administrative tribunals, whether it's a traffic court or whatever the hell else it may be, don't have any jurisdiction. They can't even effectively serve process on you to get you into their courts. Because what you're going to learn is happening is they're not serving you, for example, in San Francisco, California, or Boston, Massachusetts, or wherever. You're being served in the District of Columbia. Name is all capital letters. You have a 2-letter thing for your state, AK, CA, whatever it is, and with a zip code. That finds you in the District of Columbia. The IRS is notorious for using that 26 USC 7408D that says that a taxpayer, quote unquote, who can't be found in a United States judicial district, whatever the hell that is, can be found for all purposes in the District of Columbia. That's how it works. And when you know the truth like this blows the lid off of everything, because one case decided, especially by the current justices of the U.S. Supreme Court, puts the traffic people out of business, puts the mortgage people out of business, you name it, they're gone. Well, on a limited basis, because when they say, especially in the vehicle code, where it says no person shall drive a vehicle on the highway unless he holds a license issued by this code. Person, quote unquote, should be in capital letters. What they're talking about there are corporations. IBM, Chase Bank. Do you look like anything like that? Well, can't the black robe bastard of the DA tell when you walk into corporate you're not a corporation? What the hell is the problem here? That's all they have. And that's all this government recognizes. And all these laws they get passed are in legislatures in which the sovereign body politic is not only not recognized, we're specifically excluded from all departments of government. Yeah, that's a white supremacist argument. I make no apologies for that. That's who we were, a free white male in 21, and it hasn't been changed. And if they're going to make the claim it has been, they have to rely on the 14th Amendment. I can prove off the top of my head the ratification of that amendment, the capital RAT, violated all 6 articles of the Constitution for the United States. That's how absolutely ridiculous all of this is. But learn more. Send me an email, uwinningcourt@gmail.com, and request your free document on this subject with the traffic court. And it's just amazing, what goes on there. And I think you have to have a license and registration and this, that, and the other. And with the government, we're supposed to have. Some of that may be true, but you sure as hell wouldn't have to renew your license once you got it, and you wouldn't be paying annual fees every year to put a license plate on your car. That doesn't make any sense. A one-time deal with the lawful government might be perfectly fine, but that's so far from what we have. You just can't, wow. And trust me, I was at the head of the class of ignorance when I got out of high school all these 60 odd years ago. And outside of Washington, D.C. to boot, where you think we might have had a better education. And in many ways we did, especially with the practice kids are getting in school now with all this transgender stuff and woke agenda. And I'm going to be developing a document for that too, that you can distribute to the PTA and their local board of supervisors and everybody else, telling them to get this crap out of at least elementary school, if not junior high school, and maybe even high school. You'll learn all the reasons for that why later. But that's what they do, and you don't get any meaningful substantive education at all in the mandatory public, quote unquote, education system. That's straight off a little bit here, but these are important things that affects everything that you do, because you have no way to know, and they presume you're incompetent. But think about this: if we're incompetent in all these situations, in traffic court and evictions and mortgages and what have you, how is it we magically seem to regain competence every 2 or 4 years on election day? Can't possibly. Which way is it? We either are or we aren't. And you'll learn more about that too. Send me an email, uwinningcourt@gmail.com. and we can go from there. We're going to love what I'm doing in every aspect. And I've developed some things now. We may even be able to take the case directly out of a quote unquote state court, aka administrative tribunal, and into a federal circuit court, which is a judicial court. And as you'll learn, all these idiots on the other side don't have any standing. Artificial, subordinate corporate citizens do not have standing in any judicial court. That's where we beat them. And the 9 parts right now in Washington, D.C., my hometown, are very well aware of it. That's good news for all of us. So that said, remember to subscribe, like the video, tell your friends, get the word out. The sooner we act, the sooner we get these bastards off our back. Thank you.